What is malware? Malware is a worldwide epidemic. The rising number of computer security incidents since 1988 suggests this. Studies suggest the impact of malware is also getting worse. In December of 1999, SDSC installed Red Hat Linux 5.2 with no security patches on a computer connected to the internet. Within 8 hours of installation, the computer had already been attacked. 21 days after installation, the computer had experienced 20 attacks. Approximately 40 days after the installation, the computer had been deemed compromised. As you can see, malware is everywhere and you can be infected without even realizing it. Malware can result in consequences ranging from website defacement all the way to the loss of human life. Malware can be referred to by many names. Examples include malicious software, malicious code, and malcode. The sheer number and variety of known and unknown malware is part of the reason why detecting malware is such a difficult problem. Before we delve any further into malware, we need to define what it actually is. There does not seem to be a general consensus for a direct definition for malware. However, here are some definitions from some highly prominent sources. According to Krista Dorescu and Jaha, a malware instance is a program whose objective is malevolent. Another definition can be defined as any code added, changed, or removed from a software system in order to intentionally cause harm or subvert the intended function of the system. Malware can also be defined as a generic term that encompasses viruses, trojans, spywares, and other intrusive code. And lastly, according to Skoutas and Zeltzer, malware is a set of instructions that run on your computer and make your system do something that the attacker wants it to do. There are a multitude of other definitions available on the web, but these seem to encompass what all the others include to define malware as. The evolution of malware. Today's threats have new motivations behind them. In the past, viruses and trojans were created by disgruntled employees seeking revenge or script kiddies out to make a name for themselves. Increasingly, the motivation is now direct financial gain through paid spam distribution, ad revenue generation, and product offerings, resulting in a broader category of undesirable software known as malware. Identity thieves and other criminals have now turned to internet-based methods and are learning or buying the sophistication required to succeed. Viruses and trojans that hijack computers have been around for a long time. However, the term malware covers a broader category of malicious or otherwise undesirable software that includes browser pop-up generators, personal data collectors, and banner ad redirectors. These kinds of software, while not always explicitly malicious in intent, are often undesirable because they can slow computer operations to a noticeable degree. If you have ever heard the complaint, "My computer is slow," there's a good chance you have seen what malware can do even after the virus check comes back clean. Sensitive company information can be leaked from your organizations through these kind of programs. These threats are real and are actively being exploited. Keystroke logging through malware may have played a part in the theft of Valve's software's source code to their hotly anticipated Half-Life 2 video game. Additionally, data collectors that track user browsing habits, email addresses, and form entries can result in the user receiving more spam even if sensitive information is not disclosed. Standard virus payloads such as keystroke loggers control that copy all web form input, and bots that download advertisements to increase apparent click rates can appear under the guise of browser helper objects such as utility toolbars. There are many types of malware. There's viruses, worms, Trojan horses, spyware, keyloggers, mobile code, user and kernel rootkits, backdoors, and adware. McGraw and Morissette note that categorizing malicious code has increasingly become more complex as newer versions appear to be combinations of those that belong to the existing categories. For purposes of this presentation, we will delve further into the viruses, worms, Trojan horses, and spyware, since they are the most common forms of malware. Viruses. A computer virus is a code that replicates by inserting itself into other programs. A program that a virus has inserted itself into is infected and is referred to as the virus's host. In order for a virus to function, a virus needs an existing host program in order to cause harm. For example, in order to get into a computer system, a virus may attach itself to some software utility. An example would be a word processing application. By launching that word processing application, it would then activate the virus that may, for example, duplicate itself and disable malware detectors enabled on the computer system. Worms. A computer worm replicates itself by executing its own code independent of any other program. The primary distinction between viruses and worms is their propagation model. In general, viruses attempt to spread through program files on a single computer system. However, worms spread via network connections with the goal of infecting as many computer systems connected to the network as possible. Trojan horses. A Trojan horse is malware embedded by its designer in an application or system. The application or system appears to perform some useful function. For example, it gives the local weather, but at the same time it performs some unauthorized action. An example of this would be capturing the user's keystrokes and sending this information to a malicious host. Trojan horses are typically associated with accessing and sending unauthorized information from its hosts. Malware embedded by its designer is not limited by this type of malicious activity. The embedded malware could also be a time bomb. For example, malware might create the following scenario. On July 12, 2012, the compromised system will be programmed to refuse all requests for services. Spyware. In loose terms, spyware is a piece of software that gathers information about a computer's use and relays the information back to the third party. Some formal definitions go as follows. Software that gathers information about use of a computer, usually without the knowledge of the owner of the computer, and relays the information across the internet to a third-party location. Another definition would be in applications that lurk in the background and capture everything from keystrokes to the URLs of websites I visit. Spyware is software installed by a third party without the user's fully informed consent with undisclosed subroutines that track a host's internet activity and send the information to a spy master. Problems caused by malware. There are numerous consequences of malware. They can include, but are not limited to, identity theft, affected PC performance, compromised personal data, or compromised corporate data. Virus, Trojan, and work payloads usually include keystroke loggers, packet sniffers, or remote control software, and are known security risks to corporate data. Other types of malware can cause problems in more subtle ways by dragging down PC performance and reducing user productivity through pop-up fighting. User complaints of PC slowness can often be tracked to a multitude of installed ActiveX controls. Pop-up ads drain bandwidth and so affect all other users on the network. Email address collectors can result in yet more spam. Some malware turns target machines into spam relays using your internet connection to make the true origin of the messages. These can cause your internet addresses to be blacklisted as a spam relay by any of the several online services. Any site that subscribers to these blacklists may automatically reject all mail, including legitimate messages from your organization. While getting a victim to open an attachment is a traditional malware attack vector, other methods include exploiting the HTML display functionality of many email clients, either to verify addresses with tiny, uniquely tagged image files or to attempt to load software directly. Continuously updated content filtering can stop these vectors as they appear and before they hit the desktop. Who are the users and creators of malware? Malware writers or users go by a variety of different names. Some of the most popular are black hats, hackers, and crackers. These actual people can be either external or internal threats, a foreign government, or an industrial spy. There are essentially two phases in the life cycle of software during which malware is inserted. These phases are referred to as the pre-release and post-release phases. An internal threat or insider is generally the only type of hacker capable of inserting malware into software before it's released to end users. An insider is a trusted developer, typically within the organization, of some software to be deployed to its end users. All of the persons or organizations that take on the hacker role insert malware during the post-release phase, which is when the software is available for its intended audience. In creating new malware, hackers generally employ one of the following techniques: obfuscation and behavior addition modification in order to circumvent malware detectors. Obfuscation attempts to hide the true intentions of malicious code without extending the behaviors exhibited by malware. Behavior addition or modification effectively creates new malware, although the essence of the malware may not have changes. The widespread The widespread use of the aforementioned techniques suggests that reused code is a major component in the development of new malware. This plays a critical role in some of the signature-based malware detection, sometimes referred to as misuse detection methods. A malware detector is the implementation of some malware detection techniques. The malware detector attempts to help protect the system by detecting malicious behavior and may or may not reside in the same system it is trying to protect. The malware detector performs its protection through the manifested malware detection techniques and serves as an empirical means of evaluating malware detection techniques' detection capabilities. Malware detectors take two inputs: knowledge of malicious behavior and the program under inspection. There are two different types of detection for knowledge of malicious behavior. The first is an anomaly-based detection. In anomaly-based detection, the inverse of this knowledge comes from the learning phase. So theoretically, anomaly-based detection knows what is anomalous behavior based on the knowledge of what is normal. Since anomalous behavior subsumes malicious behavior, some sense of maliciousness is captured by anomaly-based detection. The other is signature-based method. If the malware detector employs a signature-based method, its knowledge of what is malicious comes from its repository, which is usually updated, maintained manually by people who are able to identify malicious behavior and express it in a form amenable for the signature repository and ultimately for the machine to read. For the program under inspection, once the malware detector has the knowledge of what is considered malicious behavior in the program under inspection, it can employ its detection technique to decide if the program is malicious or benign. Although intrusion detection systems, or IDS, and malware detectors are sometimes used synonymously, a malware detector is usually only a component of a complete IDS. Now that you know a little bit more about malware, please view the following presentations on examples of malware and how to protect yourself against malware. The presentations are located in the sidebar, the home page, or you may click on the link below the presentation. Thank you so much.